Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome. So today we're going to be starting the final chapter of the Higurashi When They Cry series, the 8th chapter, Matsuribayashi, and as well as the final answer arc, right? So I guess for this one we're going to be in the POV of Takano. I guess mostly or most of the story parts we'll find out, right? So yeah, after a long journey, all those chapters, all those episodes, we're finally here in the final one, and hopefully we enjoyed as well, right? So I read that this is gonna be, I guess, the longest chapter by far. So the final chapter, the longest chapter as well. So I guess once we finish this one, we still have the console arcs. I will do that as well, but maybe a little bit slowly, right? And for Umineko When They Cry, I think I will actually play that while I'm doing this one, as I actually want to play Umineko already. I'm not gonna lie about it. So yeah, let's just start it. Let's go. Let's start. Matsuribayashi. At least let it end with a blissful dream. Okay. The riddle you have entrusted with solving now finally becomes unraveled. What must be done to stop the chain, and what will happen in the ultimate end? It's a showdown between the conclusion you reach and the one I reach. There is no difficulty. You should understand that now. Okay, let's do this. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is accepting that everyone is entitled to happiness. Difficult part is fulfilling that. I am too entitled to happiness. Who is Frederico Berncastle, by the way? Is that even a real person? And this is a work of fiction. I want to know who that Berncastle is. The study was filled with piles of books and papers. In the study, there was a full-figured old man writing something at his desk in utmost concentration. There was also a little girl sorting out papers on the carpet. She almost looked as though she was playing with them, but the serious expression she was wearing made it clear that she wasn't. Okay, so we got new characters, Miyoko and Hifumi.
さてさて、どういう結果になったかな？
同じ症例の人がこれだけ集まった。全国平均と比べても明らかに異常なくらい。
やはりな。こっちも興味深い論文を見つけたところだ。精神外科と文化についてまとめたものでな。前頭葉に宿主とは別の意志を持った存在があることを予見したものだ。
Parasites.
前頭葉は人間が人間らしくあることを司る部分だよね。
そうだ。人の感情は心が生み出すのではない。脳という名の器官が分泌物を生み出して与える副産物に過ぎ、その脳に特定の干渉をするナノ単位の生命体の集合が存在し、ある命令系統を持つ一つのコロニーに関与したならば。
Okay, no voice. So are parasites the cause of the spread of ideology? When ideologies clash, is that because different parasites are competing to expand their habitat?
あるいは教育の分布か、国境の分布か、人種の分布か。我々の世界の異なる文化コミュニティの存在と、その対立の一因は、そういった人の思想に影響を及ぼす微細な生命体の存在にあると仮定している。
おじいちゃんと同じことを考えている人が外国にもいたんだね。
もちろんいるとも。可視不可視を問わず、地球上には無数の生命体がいて、その中には宿主の体内に潜伏して共存し、時には 宿主を支配したりすることが広く知られている。そして実際に人体内にその存在をたくさん発見してもいる。にもかかわらず人体に潜伏し、その宿主を支配する生命体の存在については頑くなに否定してきた。家庭すらも含めてな。
どうしてだろうね。人間だけ特別な存在のわけはないのに。
それを仮定することはすなわち、意志に基づいた言動や信念を疫学的原因から派生したものと置き換えられて、対処策もそれと同様とみなされる危険があるからだ。
If conflicts in ideology can be resolved through debate, then they're peaceful. But if those conflicts occur epidemically, they become frightening. And if one were to treat bad thoughts or the spread of culture as an epidemic,
中世の歴史に登場するペストなどを想像しなさい。悪い伝染病が大流行する。その患者を強制的に入院させ、完治するまで退院させない。完治できず、そのまま病院で死んでしまうこともある。するとその死体は焦燥となる。さらに患者が触れたものまで衛生のため全て没収して焼き捨てる。身近の家族にも感染の疑いがあるから強制的に入院させねばならん。
so they hospitalize healthy people over individual ideas.
思想を病気と置き換えなさい。
The rest is the
完
same.
治するまで退院させない。触れたものは感染の疑いがあるから全て焼き捨てる。家族にも感染の疑いがあるから強制入院。
でも思想なんて個人の自由なんでしょ。ペストとは違う。
If an idea was created by parasites, it would be exactly the same as a plague.
つまり思想は治療不可能な伝染病と置き換えられるわけだ。
So you mean anyone with a different idea is treated like they have a disease?
そういうことだ。この考えを延長すると無差別、そして無秩序な大量虐殺が起こる。そうすると人類は大規模な粛清を肯定してしまう論調になりかねん。だから脳内で宿主を支配する生命体を語ることは今の時代ではタブーになっているのだ。
タブーって？
触れてはならない、考えてもならないということだな。だから誰も研究せん。いや、それどころか脳内に侵入し影響を及ぼす存在がいると考えることすら忘れられている。万物の長たる霊長類を支配する未知の生命体などいるはずがないと頭から決めつけている。
But we do have something though, right? You know The Last of Us, right? What do you call it again? Cordyceps? But for humans, of course, no, right? But for insects, if I remember correctly, yeah, those can infect insects, like for example, ants. And then you can see how creepy it is, right? Those ants are dead already, but yeah, they're being controlled by this cordyceps, this fungus or whatever, right?
なんだかお粗末な話。いないことの証明なんて悪魔の証明。絶対に不可能なのに。
その通り。悪魔がいることを証明することはたやすい。悪魔を連れてくればいいのだからな。だがいないことを証明することはできん。 いないを連れてくることなどできんのだからな。
なんだか脳を支配する生命体が自分たちの存在を秘密にするためにその宿主の人間たちを操っているみたい。
Me and my grandfather shared a happy laugh together. Who are
人
these
間
people?
も自然界の生き物の一つに過ぎん。食物連鎖の頂点にいるだけで、それをもって神格化された存在であると思い込むなど愚かしいことなのだ。人とてあらゆる微生物やウイルスに支配されうるのだ。その存在が今日まで発見されていないからといってそれをもって存在しないという証拠にはならん。絶対に存在する。必ず存在するのだ。
科学の世界にもたくさん存在が仮定されていて、そのずっと未来にそれが証明されたものがあるんだもんね。
But honestly though, if we have something like this, right? Like controlling humans, right? This is terrifying. If you know what is this? Manga or anime or even a show called Parasite, yeah, basically like that, right? Pretty much they are taking over the person, right? And yeah, they become that person.
そうだ。それらの過程をした科学者が全て生きているうちに評価を受けられたわけではない。世まいごとだと呆れられ、その正しさを証明できなかった科学者も大勢いたのだ。
でもおじいちゃんは生きているうちに証明されるといいね。じゃなかったらおじいちゃんがかわいそう。
大丈夫だよ。神様は努力する者を見捨てたりはしない。努力は必ずいつか結実するのだ。
いつかってそれはいつ？
神がいつ降臨されるのかは誰も知らない。それは例えるなら泥棒がいつ訪れるのかわからないように。だから予期せずしてその時を迎えて、不信心であったことに歯ぎしりすることがないよう常に目を覚ましていなさい。
That was something that my grandfather said all the time. Nobody knows when efforts will bear fruit, but it will happen one day. That's why you must always work hard so you have no regrets when the time comes. Your efforts will bear fruit someday. True that. That's what he meant.
でもおじいちゃんが生きているうちに絶対に努力が実る？生きてるうちに認められなかった科学者がたくさんいるのに？
Yeah, that was such a cruel thing to say, honestly though. But yeah, that is like, if you're a scientist, that's a reality sometimes, right? Yeah, sometimes that is reality. But is it gonna happen before you die? But I didn't mean to be cruel. I had seen how hard my grandfather had been working, and I also knew he wouldn't live forever. I just wanted his work to gain recognition before he died. And do you know of the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Yeah. He was crucified and resurrected after 3 days. You told me about it. So how do you think Jesus was resurrected? Didn't he just get up as if he was waking up in the morning? He was buried after his execution, so his body was in the ground. Did he break open the tombstone and crawled out like a zombie? No, that wouldn't be called a resurrection. The sinners who killed Jesus imagined exactly the same thing. Jesus predicted just before he was executed that he would come back to life after 3 days. The sinners buried Jesus, sealed his tomb, and posted guards to watch over it. By what Jesus meant wasn't that he would resurrect physically. He meant his teachings would be resurrected. After 3 days, Jesus' teachings were resurrected and people regained their belief. The hearts of those who wanted to be shown the proper way revived his teachings. That's what the resurrection of Jesus is all about. He came back to life in the hearts of all his believers. Jesus doesn't physically exist on this earth, but he exists in people's hearts. In other words, that's when Jesus became an existence superior to humans.
たとえ死後であっても正当な評価を受けられたなら、その偉業は必ずやよみがえる。その時私の体が朽ち果ててしまっていても、私の存在はよみがえって評価を受けるのだ。
それはおじいちゃんが神様になったということ？
そうだよ。私の研究はいつか必ず認められる。その時、おじいちゃんは神様になれるということなんだよ。だから自分が生きているうちに評価されることに焦る必要はないのだ。その時が訪れるのが私が生きているうちなのか、そうでないのか、それは神様にもわからない。だがその日は必ず訪れる。だからその日の訪れを疑うことなく、ひたすらに努力を続けなくてはならないのだよ。
It was very sad to hear my grandfather say that his life would end one day. He wasn't ill, he didn't only have a few years left to live, but set next to the average lifespan, his remaining years didn't look like much. The only person left in my life was my grandfather, so I didn't want to consider what it would be like without him. Grandfather must have remembered that I didn't like to talk about that subject. I mean, yeah, like, who would want to talk about for her grandfather, your parents, right? With few years left to live. I think no one would want that. I mean, if you love your parents, right? Yeah, you would, you would not think about this. With a tender smile, he gently patted my head.
もちろんおじいちゃんも自分が生きているうちに研究を認めてもらいたい。だから精一杯頑張るよ。
私もおじいちゃんが世界中の人に褒めてもらえるようにいっぱいいっぱいお手伝いする。
I purposely didn't mention the before you die part. I caught myself before I said it.
ありがとう。嬉しいぞ。
Grandfather smiled in satisfaction. His research wasn't exactly outrageous. He wasn't trying to uncover the mysteries of the universe. He was only searching for the possibility that parasites could be responsible for human behavior. Nothing more than that. Nothing outrageous. It really wasn't a wild idea. We even had some leads. Hinamizawa village. Oh, we're finally here. Wait, so who are these people? Yeah, honestly, who is MIYOKO? The villagers there are possessed by a powerful homesickness. When they are unable to return, they allegedly behave abnormally as if they are cursed. There are also some bizarre rules in place in the village based on their belief system. When he was working with the military during the war, my grandpa noticed similarities between the people in Hinamizawa and assumed that some kind of existence was responsible for their odd behavior. He'd been researching it ever since then, so maybe, I mean, as this chapter is, I guess, mostly gonna be about Takano. Is MIYOKO Takano? Because, yeah, you can look at this. If MIYOKO is with her grandpa all the time, and then they've been talking about all this stuff, research about parasites and stuff. So I guess MIYOKO is Takano, but did we know the first name of Takano? I don't remember. I just know Takano. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. In the middle of the 20th century, numerous strange diseases were discovered all over Japan. Most of them were caused by infectious parasites, and people started to pay attention to this forgotten field of study. Grandfather's research was simply one of those investigations into such diseases. Therefore, he believed it would be published amongst other research and attain a recognition soon. But if his research didn't bear fruit before his death, I wanted to continue it. I wanted to continue his research. Grandfather taught me, resurrection isn't something that happens physically. It's when your life's work is appreciated. That's what he meant by resurrection. So basically what he's saying is, you can live forever as long as people remember you or remember the work you did. Because yeah, in people's memories, in their hearts, you will still be there, right? But if you're forgotten and then you're truly dead, that's when he'll become a god. So when my grandfather dies, he'll still be with me forever. I wouldn't be alone ever again. I will always be with my grandpa. Our works will gain recognition and we will become both gods. It is definitely Takano, gaining eternal peace. I will make my grandpa into a god. I will become a god. It is her, yeah. 100% sure now. Therefore, we will be granted eternity. We will be together forever and ever. She wants to be a god from a young age, I guess. I was looking at the key on a keychain. That key was labeled a hen house, but the lock Eriko was trying to open didn't belong to the door. Eriko, okay, we got new characters again. It should have opened effortlessly. At least that's what's supposed to happen. But it didn't open. I noticed beads of sweat forming on Eriko's forehead. She was the one who came up with this idea. Eriko was starting to panic. The rest of us started to panic too. This only opens the hen house. So let's stop and let's go back. Shush. We were supposed to be cleaning out the hen house. If they found us back here, if they found out why we were here and why we were trying to open up the lock to the back door, then all of us were sure to be sentenced to splayed piggy. Don't panic, Eriko. That key opens this lock, right? You already tried it, right? Will you shut up for a minute? Wait, do I have the... What do you call this? The mod on. I think I have the mod on. But yeah, why doesn't it have voice acting this time? I mean, I don't know. This is the right key. It's just hard to open, that's all. She was almost shrieking. Our hearts were pounding loudly. It was as though the sound of our heartbeats was echoing throughout the hallway. And at that point, we heard footsteps that didn't belong to a child. Somebody's coming. The three of us held our breath, but Eriko didn't hear it. She kept fuzzing with the lock and key, as if everything would be okay if she could just open the lock. Eriko, somebody's coming. Be quiet. I know this is the right key. I am not dreaming. I already tried it and opened it. Come on, why isn't this working? When this lock is open, we can be happy and we can say goodbye to this hell. Eriko, someone is really coming. When they cry. Let's see, why doesn't it have voice acting? My father and mother died. I don't know exactly how old they were. I was too young to remember. They went shopping without me and that must be why they were punished. It was a train accident. What a terrible disaster. A lot of people died in that accident. But maybe my father was one of the lucky ones. He was still alive when he arrived at the hospital, so he was able to share his final words with me. My mother died instantly.
お父さん、お父さん、お父さん、お父さん。
I didn't want to admit that this person I could hardly recognize was my father. As I called out to him, I hoped that it was someone else instead. But unfortunately, it was my father. Maybe I shouldn't have woken him. Because when I woke him up, he was reminded of the miserable agony that he had forgotten. He tried to move his right arm so he could pat my head, but his arm was wrapped in bandages and his hand was no longer there. Jesus Christ. I couldn't find his hand anywhere in the bed. What? I only had scary memories of his right hand. Its main job was to slap me when I had or did something bad. So I guess this is Miyoko and this is her parents. But I never wished it to be gone. Besides, that hand also patted my head. Even though that only happened a few times, it was big, a warm hand, and it stroked my head very gently. But no matter what good deeds I did, he could no longer rub my head. No, his hand was the least of his worries. He had to go into emergency surgery. The doctors already warned me that the chance of him surviving was very low. That's why I was allowed to see him regardless of his condition. Not only could he no longer rub my head, he might be gone forever.
お父さん、手術できっと良くなるよね。お父さんきっと元気になれるよね。なれるよね。
よく聞きなさい。お父さんはダメかもしれない。もしもお父さんが死んでも、お前はしっかり生きるんだよ。
嫌だ嫌だ、お父さんは元気になるよ。お医者様がちゃんと手術してくれるもん。だから死んだりなんかしないんだよ。
He was stubborn and an old-fashioned father. He believed endurance was virtue, and he never complained about anything. That was why I couldn't believe he actually said that he might not make it. I tried desperately to deny his words, but even that wish wouldn't prolong his life. My father, knowing his time was limited, tried to tell me some important things, but I interrupted his efforts by crying like a baby. I just wanted him to slap me, just like he had to do every time I cried like a baby. But he would never slap me again.
よく聞きなさい。お父さんもお母さんも親類というものがいない。だからお父さんが死んだら、お前の世話をしてくれる人は誰もいない。
He didn't need to tell me that. My parents used to tell me that all the time, so I was aware of that fact. In other words, my father was the only relative I had left in this entire world.
もしもな、お父さんが死んだら、高野先生を頼りなさい。
Oh, if I die, you can count on Dr. Takano. Okay.
高野ひふみ先生だよ。言ってみなさい。
高野ひふみ。
そうだ、高野ひ
ひふみ先生だよ。高野先生はお父さんの恩師なんだ。きっとお前を助け
お父さん、お父さん、お父さん、お父さん。
Many doctors came to the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so I wasn't able to hear him. I was kicked out of the room. I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me how my father was doing or when the surgery was going to start. And nobody told me that it was going to be the last conversation I ever had with my father. I think I asked people at the government office about Dr. Takano. What is this music, man? It feels like I am ascending for some reason. What is this? They asked me if I knew his phone number. I said I didn't. Then they didn't ask anything further. Sometimes they told me that they'd look into it, but nothing led to anything. They couldn't find me a guardian, so I ended up going to an orphanage. At the time, there were plenty of orphans from the war, so although there were many orphanages around, they were all full. There were also some orphanages run by civilians. I was sent to one of those civilian orphanages. There was no profit to be had in taking an orphan in the first place, so I thought those civilians who were running orphanages must have been very good people. So I was sure they hoped that the children would grow in this loving environment and enter into society with a sense of gratitude. But reality isn't so kind. How many children in this world can actually express their gratitude towards their parents in the first place? Children are supposed to be nurtured by their parents' love. Therefore, when that environment is destroyed, their hearts are wounded. Every child has his or her own personality. Receiving affection doesn't guarantee that a child will become someone angelic. Not everyone's heart can be healed. That was why there were some problem kids at the orphanage. Maybe I shouldn't call them problem kids though. The sadness and despair of losing their parents and the anger at having to hide such feelings filled those kids' heart. Spending time individually with the children could have solved their problems. But at the orphanage where I was, none of the staff members even tried to spend time with them or put in an effort to understand them. All they could do was make sure the kids followed the rules. Therefore, they could only see the children's emotional pleas for help as problems. In this world, nobody expresses love without expecting something in return. The person who founded that orphanage was expecting something in return as well. He wanted the children to appreciate him. That was why such a faint dream was destroyed by a cruel reality. The children called the orphanage a prison, and nobody appreciated the staff at all. In fact, all they did was complain. That made the staff slowly realize that love alone couldn't run a facility like that. Just like how the children called it a prison, the staff started to recognize the facility as a prison too. Okay. It was a chain reaction resulting from mistrust on both sides. The staff bound the children with the rules so they could suppress problem behavior. There was a framed picture of the founder of this orphanage, but I had never seen him in person. Was he satisfied with the fact that he put his own money into the social service? Or maybe he finally realized his dream of being surrounded by angelic children and being celebrated for what he did was simply that, a dream. I don't know. But there's one thing I'm certain of. Such a dream didn't exist at the orphanage. There were so many rules and several plausible standards outlined for us. but the most valued one was silence. Children's chatter tends to increase each other's volumes, just like the mics drawing closer. And sometimes that leads to fights and the disturbance of order. So the children were forbidden from speaking with each other. With those disallowed, they must have fought or thought things would go smoothly. However, I think I always heard people's voices at the orphanage. There were two kinds of voices. One was a staff yelling and the other was a children crying. We were not allowed to walk around inside of the orphanage itself or freely, so we never knew who it was that was crying. One time, along with the crying and yelling, we heard a noise of metallic things being smashed against each other. We knew it was some kind of punishment, but there was no way for us to even imagine what it was. We trembled, pretended we didn't hear anything, and kept working on our assignments. One of my roommates told me it was a casket punishment, but she didn't tell me any further and I didn't want to know either. Even if we behave exactly the same way as yesterday, if the staff were in a bad mood, they might pick on us. So even if I didn't want to know, I might suddenly find out what the casket punishment is one day. The footsteps of a staff member were getting closer. We noticed them, so we straightened our backs and pretended we were studying hard. And it was more important that the staff saw us doing than us actually getting any work done. I noticed the girl next to me was falling asleep, so I poked her with my elbow. She noticed my signal and straightened her back like the other children. It was almost evening now. This was the hardest time for us to keep ourselves awake and the most dangerous time. The door to our room opened and a mean-looking man showed up. Then he looked around to make sure none of us were falling asleep. Even if we were actually studying hard, if he thought we were asleep, we were out. That's why we had to make sure we appeared to be studying very hard. The man walked around our desks. I hope he would just walk by me. That was what we all prayed as we kept working on our housework or homework. The more we pretended to study hard, the more we could hear the sound of the metal objects. The sound of the metal objects crashing into each other along with the screams. We couldn't imagine what the poor subjects of that punishment was going through. Maybe there was something even worse than the casket punishment. To erase such fears, we tried to concentrate even harder on our work. We kept working. As the metal sounds and the screams went on forever, what was that music though? Jesus, okay. The only time we were allowed to exchange words with our roommates was right after turning the lights off to go to bed. With Sakano talking about being a god earlier, right? And then us having that music. No, it's just funny for me for some reason. Being located in the middle of the mountains, the orphanage was very quiet at night. After making sure the staff members were far enough from our room, we enjoyed talking amongst ourselves. That was the only leisure time allowed us. Though it wasn't anything nice like enjoying pleasant conversation. Why? Because we mostly talked about others behind their backs. We spoke of things like that member of staff is only strict or unfair or malicious towards this person and so on. We just repeated those topics forever until someone couldn't keep themselves awake anymore. We even discussed how we could get back at the staff. And we took revenge on all of them in our imagination. Some kids even started to cry when talking about it, difficult as it was for us. Although the subjects we spoke of were negative, talking about them was the only way to vent our frustrations, and even though we felt despair about tomorrow, we were able to fall asleep. But sometimes a different subject popped up. It was about the Yurigauka House of Love and Mercy on the other side of the river. Yeah. Now this one I love this kind of music. Yeah, mystery music. When you watch, if you watch Another, I watch an anime called Another. Like there is usually a music that's similar to this one. Yeah, watch that show. It's pretty good. It's a horror mystery show. It's like 12 episodes. If you haven't watched that, try it. It's really good, I promise you. Yeah, over there, I hear they get only a nap time, but snack time too. Plus, their president is a very nice person. The House of Love and Mercy was a privately run orphanage, just like the one I was at. But it was a very kind facility, unlike ours. It seemed like a fantasy land compared to our current environment. A few years before, when this place was a lot worse, a few children tried to escape. It was hard to believe. There was a time when this orphanage was even worse to live at. Supposedly, 3 or 4 people tried to escape. I don't know the exact number though. They headed to the House of Love and Mercy. Their escape was a success. Except for one unlucky child, they were able to get to the property of the House of Love and Mercy. I guess the staff couldn't follow them into the other orphanage's property. In other words, the other facility's property had to be out of their jurisdiction. The staff was frustrated that the kids got away from them, and they dragged the one they caught back here. I'm sure they wanted to bring back the others who got away from them too. I am certain the staff were determined not to let a single one escape. It was easy to see that determination in the obstinate way they locked the place up after that event. But they were never able to bring back the ones that got away. No matter how much the staff were mortified, they couldn't reclaim the children and punish them. In other words, if you could make it to the House of Love and Mercy, then you could escape the evil clutches of this hell. The House of Love and Mercy. Will we see that in this chapter? And it turns out this House of Love and Mercy is, for example, much worse than this one, right? Right? Maybe, probably, right? I'm thinking about that because, yeah, see? Like, if they reached that place, the staff couldn't get the children anymore, right? So maybe it's a much more worse place. On the other hand, the one they caught went through such misery afterwards. Yet the exact details of how he was punished were never passed down. All that remains were ominous phrases left by those who knew him at the time. The drowned ducky, the mashed caterpillar, the splayed piggy. I can't even imagine what kind of punishment they were. The only thing I can say is that those punishments were supposed to be far more harsh than the casket punishment, which was the most cruel punishment I knew at the time. I can only imagine how horrible those punishments were from their ominous names. After that, the captured kid's wishes came come true and he was able to leave the orphanage. Was able to leave this orphanage safely and enjoy his freedom while breathing in fresh air under the blue sky. Well, according to the rumors, that wasn't what happened at all. While he was playing in the boiler room, he slipped and fell, injured his brain and died. He slipped. Is that real? The children were instructed not to go into the boiler room after that incident. Everyone knew the boiler room was always locked. So everyone knew he was killed. And not just that, he was killed after being tortured. He was killed to teach the other children that they would face hell on earth if they tried to escape. Yet those who faced that risk and made it out obtained ordinary average lives full of love of Mercy's namesake, which were far better conditions than we lived in here. We will see. We will find out. Maybe the House of Love and Mercy was really heaven. Maybe all the orphanages are pretty much the same. But compared to my orphanage, I bet anything else would have been better. Even if someone escaped successfully, the police would catch him, then be sent back to the orphanage, which would be pretty much the same as being killed. However, if he could reach the House of Love and Mercy, they'd take him in. They wouldn't send him back. By talking about escaping to the House of Love and Mercy, we're trying to forget how cruel reality was to us. Then one day, the leader of the group, Eriko, said to us quietly, "Would you try to escape if you had the chance to?" Who didn't want to escape from here? It was a rather foolish question, but that wasn't what she meant. If there was a chance to escape, would you take the chance knowing what you had to go through if you got caught? That was what she meant. Not one of us could answer immediately. If the previous escape incident was a total success, then we might have thought differently. But after that, the orphanage had tightened up security to prevent runaways. All the doors and windows were locked heavily, and it wouldn't be at all easy to get out. Even if another group escape as was planned, the success rate would be very low. 3 escaped and 1 was caught before. Maybe 2 would be caught next time. No, maybe everyone would be. If I could, I want to escape. But the House of Love and Mercy is so far away. Hikuko. The bridge is long too. Well, or we'll all be caught before we get there. Tomomi, besides, we can't even go outside. Everything is locked up. There were locks all over the orphanage. To escape, you need a key for both the inside and the outside, and after the lights were turned off, even each section of the hallway was individually locked. Make no mistake, this was a prison. According to rumors, orphanages receive government funding depending on the number of children they have. So if anyone escapes, they lose money. Also, if we were to expose these conditions at the orphanage, they would end up being inspected and things would get complicated for them. That was why they were so intent on keeping us locked up. Sure, if there was a chance, I would want to escape. But realistically, there's no way we could. Every door is locked. Well, did you know? The hen house in the courtyard used the same key as a door to the back stairs. Really? Eriko shushed us. Sometimes the mass-produced locks take the same key. Of course, most places uses different types of locks, so that this won't happen, but the staff at the orphanage must have overlooked it. So there were 2 locks that use the same key at the orphanage. However, most of us never had a chance to even touch the keys. But there were a few exceptions. One of those was the hen house. Each room group took turns taking care of different chores. If your group was assigned to clean the hen house, you'd have to get the key to it from the teacher's office. You were supposed to return the key immediately after you were done. But while taking care of the hen house, the key was in the children's hands. While the staff would occasionally come around to check, they couldn't keep an eye on us forever. Eriko-chan, you aren't thinking about using that key, are you? Let's not. Because yeah, if they get caught, all of these kids, Tomomi, Kikuku, Eriko, and then MIYOKO as well, will get punished. It's too dangerous. Of course it's dangerous if there's only one of us, but it's different if we're in a group. Wait, why? Do you know why only 1 kid was caught the last time he tried to escape? They were desperate, and so to escape as a group, they did something. So pretty much you kick one kid, leave them behind, so the others are distracted, right? So the others can run much farther. That was why only one of them was caught. What did they do? They scattered as they ran, they dashed in different directions, they waited until when there were only a few people working at the orphanage, and ran this way and that. And so, although it all depended on luck, it would increase the chance for success for sure. On your own, you probably have no hope, but if staff were to chase after other children, then your own chance of escaping successfully would increase. I mean, that is kind of true though. Yeah, I thought they betrayed the kid, but they didn't betray the kid. They were pretty much on, I guess, luck. They were waiting for the luck. They were looking at the luck on who the staff would chase, right? In other words, Eriko was inviting us to escape with her. The more children joined, the more each of our chances would increase. But among us, there were children who tattled to the staff for their own benefit. So she had to be very careful about who she talked to. Eriko must have trusted us a lot. Eriko, me, Tomomi, and Kyuko. 4 children. Do any of you want to stay here a day longer? The 3 of us shook our heads, but at the same time, we couldn't agree to escape with her either. Of course, we don't want to stay here a day longer, or even an hour longer. Even if we did exactly the same thing as we did yesterday, we might get yelled at tomorrow. I can't stand this anymore. I can't stand living in fear of what to do and what not to do, so I won't be yelled at. We all feel the same way. We can endure strict rules, but it was almost impossible to endure vague ones. It wasn't too much of a stretch to say that the rules depended on the mood of the staff. So this is okay, that isn't okay. Such borderline rules change daily. And if we were to say anything about that, we would be treated horribly for it. I will escape even if I have to do it alone. Like I said, the more people to join, the better our chances. So, my question, for you guys watching, if you had a chance, would you take it? Sure, it's based on luck, right? So example, for like them, they're 4 kids, right? The ones sucking right now. Would you take that chance? Right? You dash in different directions. For me personally, I don't know, it's hard though. I'd probably do it, yeah. I'll bank on my luck, right? And let's see what happens. Because yeah, pretty much this place is just torture anyway, right? So who knows? But yeah, how about you guys? Would you do it, or would you risk it, or nah? Think about it. If they find out about this henhouse key trick, they are sure to change the lock on the back door. In other words, we only have one chance. So even if you regret not joining in later, it'll be too late. But I'm scared. I'm scared too. If we get caught, we'll be killed. Tomomi and Kyuko weren't the only ones who felt afraid. The fear was perfectly understandable, because all of a sudden the fear of the punishment that would follow had become very realistic. I'm sure Eriko felt the same way too, but her courage was suppressing her fear, and because of that, she shared her ideas with us. So, do you plan to stay here forever? No way. I know you're scared, but this is the only chance we have. You have to be brave just this once. What about you, Miyoko? Don't you want to go with me? Unlike Tomomi and Kyuko, I wasn't trembling that much. Of course, I was scared in my own way, but compared to the other 2, I must have appeared rather calm. Can we really escape this? Of course. Eriko couldn't guarantee our success, but I had to ask her anyways. There's no guarantee, but if you join me, I'll have a better chance of escaping than trying to run on my own. Of course, the same goes for you too. Eriko gave a calculated reason, but I'm sure she just wanted a friend to agree with her. That was probably more important to her than increasing her chances to escape. Tomomi, Kyuko, if you're too scared, then I won't force you. Miyoko and I will escape ourselves. 2 is enough. Well... Eriko rushed the 2 to make up their minds. It almost looked cold, but that was her way of mustering their courage. because it was very possible that regardless of the outcome of our escape, our roommates, those two would be held responsible. It's not like we'll do it tomorrow. Our turn to take care of the henhouse is in a week. We'll wait for the perfect time to do it. If you don't feel that it's safe, then we'll wait until our next turn. We'll be very careful. The rotation of the staff and the timing were important, but we also each had to know the way to the house of Lord or Love of Mercy. We were planning to split up, so we had to know the area. I made up my mind. Okay, I'm coming with you. But let's time our escape very carefully, okay? Of course, we'll be killed if we get caught. I don't want to die. Yeah, I'll come too. And me too. Tomi and Kyuko agreed, and so we all decided to escape as a group. We waited for the perfect opportunity. We waited for a day where only a few staff members were at the orphanage. And we decided to let God take care of the rest. Maybe it was the way I did it. Eriko tried to open the lock several times without success, but I got it open in the first attempt. Maybe she was panicking. The back door opened slowly and we felt a cool breeze. This wasn't the world of freedom just yet. In fact, it was the exact opposite. If the staff were to find out we were here, we would be in big trouble. It was a world of danger. But unless we went through that dangerous world, we wouldn't be able to go any further.
よし行くよ
Oh, we got voice acting on the ending. I think Eriko wanted to say that. We were planning to leave with that as our cue. But what we heard instead wasn't Eriko's voice.
お前たちそこで何をしている
We started to run. It was raining. We all got soaked immediately and our clothes stuck to our skin. While that would normally be very uncomfortable, we couldn't even stop to think about that. We could only keep running in the rain. We were dashing in gravel, but it felt more like trudging through a muddy rice field. My feet kept sinking and I couldn't pull them up. I was frustrated because no matter how fast I tried to run, I wasn't gaining any speed. I felt a sense of urgency. I heard someone yelling escape behind me, and all I could do was run like crazy.
決めた通りにバラバラの方向に散って
With Eriko's cue, we all went different ways, hoping they wouldn't be coming after us. We would be able to reunite safely at the house of Love and Mercy. All four of us there together, or maybe someone would be missing. No, maybe everyone else would make it, and I'd be the one who gets caught. My thoughts were interrupted by the voice of a staff member coming from behind me.
待ちなさい待ちなさい待ちなさい
The staff members should have numbered fewer than us, so if I was lucky, they wouldn't be coming after me. Praying that the staff voices I heard in the distance weren't after me, I looked back for a moment. If I had time to turn around, why didn't I take another step forward? Why didn't I try to escape further? Oh, did she get caught? Oh no, as I turned around, I felt a huge hand cover my face. She got caught. It's a pinky finger slipped into my open mouth. The hand grabbing my face shoved me into the muddy gravel. Of course, I didn't stay quiet. I fought back, and then I saw his face. It was the scariest face I'd ever seen. I realized it immediately. He only wanted to capture me alive to use me as an example. And considering what would happen to me afterwards, killing me here on the spot wouldn't pose any problem, would it? Yes, he looked at me with unworldly hate, ready to end my life here and now. His pinky finger ended up touching my tongue. The indescribably nasty taste sent an icky feeling through my whole body. That's it. This is what my murder tastes like. He was going to shove that finger down my windpipe and suffocate me. And so in order to live, I fought back in the only way I could. She bit the finger off. Right? Something warm filled my mouth. Ugh. It felt like swallowing blood after a nosebleed. I spit it from my mouth and ran without turning around, leaving behind the staff member clutching his pinky finger. But yeah, if you're a kid like that, that was the only way to fight. Yeah, that was the only way, honestly. I heard his roars echoing behind me. It wasn't a man that was after me. It was a beast. He had no interest in capturing me. His only goal was to see me dead. My shoes had slipped off. They weren't sneakers, so they came off easily while I was running like mad. My bare feet struck the gravel over and over. It was painful, but I didn't care, because if I stopped, I knew what would happen to me. She got caught again. Tree branches cut my face and barbed wire scratched my thighs. My feet and toes were bloody from running on gravel. The blood from the staff member's pinky finger dripped down from my mouth, staining my chin and chest. I was running for my life with scratches and cuts all over my body. If I were to get caught, I would be killed. If my pursuer had any sense, then I would be killed after being tortured. But if he didn't, I would be killed on the spot. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to be killed. My lungs and heart were about to explode. My mind was blank from fear and lack of oxygen. I was about to lose consciousness. I might have given in. If I didn't hear the voice of the staff member coming after me, my knees were shaking. My legs wouldn't move properly. I felt like I was going to fall like a puppet with its strings cut. But I couldn't fall. I couldn't fall just yet. It was too late. My face hit the gravel. I felt the awful sensation of falling. And immediately after that, the roar of the beast coming from behind me. Wait, it says Takano now. I must have hit my thigh against the steering wheel when I jumped. I can feel a throbbing pain delayed slightly. I'm sweating all over. I wiped the sweat on my forehead and put my hand on my chest, only then realizing how fast my heart was beating. Also, I guess this is the Kano now, like what do you call this? The modern time? I rubbed my thigh. I rubbed it in a straight line, so she was just dreaming then. She's having nightmares, she's remembering those moments, I guess. That's not where I hit the steering wheel. But I feel like this is where it hurts. I can't see a scary beast in the moonlit car. I have my shoes on and I'm not covered in blood. My toes are fine too. Someone knocked in the window, startling me.
Sansa,
There's a mountain though.
ありがとう。
I wanted to take a nap, so I told him to wake me up in an hour. Maybe an hour was too long. Too long a nap actually makes you tired. I put my seat back up and got out of the car. The cool breeze feels good on my skin. I only see the moon. There's nothing else to see on this mountain trail. My car and a command vehicle disguised as a trailer are parked on the side of the street. I can still feel the bad taste in my mouth. I spat it out on the side of the street. But even that, I couldn't get rid of. The taste of the blood, saliva, and rain. Sweat from my forehead and raindrops got into my mouth, but I couldn't swallow, so I ended up drooling. The sensation around my lips brought back memories, and I tried to wipe my mouth. Maybe I'm nervous. That's why I had such a bad dream. I think there's a coffee machine in the command vehicle. An unpleasant cup of coffee will wake me up.
どう？何か動きは？
いえ、何も。先ほどジーチクから定期連絡が。問題なしとのことです。
そう。ねえ、どなたかコーヒーを入れてくださらない？
はい。ミルクと砂糖は？
ミルクだけ。あ、やっぱり砂糖も入れてくださる。
I have a bad taste in my mouth. The feeling of biting and crushing his little finger and his filthy blood filling my mouth. I am sure a sweeter cup of coffee will wash down that bad taste and also wake me up from my nightmare completely. Oh, we finished, I guess, the first chapter of this chapter. First chapter of this chapter. That was pretty long, yeah. Oh, we got tips. We got tips. No tips. What is this? We got tips and we got no tips. So no tips for today, I guess. So yeah. I guess, I mean, yeah, we've been looking at, I guess, Takano's backstory, right? So I guess you could say that that's why she ended up like that, right? Like she was cruel, doing these bad things to people. But yeah, we'll learn more about what happened to her, I guess, as we go through the story. But like, for example, like right now, do I feel bad for her? I don't really know because when something bad happens to you, and yeah, you could be much better though than the person or the persons that did that to you. Like, yeah, you suffered a lot, of course, it's traumatic and stuff like that. But you could be better. But yeah, what Takano did in the other chapters, right? Especially in the last chapter there. Like when she was when the kids confronted her, right? In the pretty much the ending of chapter 7. Like it was cold-blooded, right? Like they were talking and then she just shoots them like nothing and then she's laughing and stuff. So it's hard for me to feel for her. Like you feel for her when she was a kid, yes, like this is sad that it is happening to her and all that. But we'll see more. Maybe, right? We'll see. We'll see what else happened to her. I guess, yes. We'll see. So yeah. We're gonna continue this and do more of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 8, Matsuribayashi in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye-bye.